All right, we're back. Episode 6 of the Dallas Ballers Club. We've got the usual guys. We've got me, Bennett,
David.
Me, Clayton.
and before we go and get into our week 3 recap, I'd like to be on record by issuing a formal apology to the Arizona Cardinals.
We was
Yeah,
wrong.
we were wrong. Um, we were wrong. We purposely last week went quickly through the offensive preview because we didn't believe in that defense. We were wrong. So my apologies. Apologies to Josh Jobs. I did say last week, I said some people are saying Josh Jobs is elite. And he did show that yesterday. Just I had that out there. But anyways, Cowboys lose week 3. Bit of a shocker. There were a couple shockers around the league, but obviously this one
Takes the
very,
cake.
very, very surprising. I mean, outside of honestly, thank God for Taylor Swift being at the Chiefs gamer. This would be the talk of national
Thank
sports news
God.
today.
Thank God.
So shout out to Swift. Shout out to the Swifties. Um,
Are
yeah,
y'all
but
Swifty?
I'm not, but my girlfriend is. So
Yep. Ditto.
um, yeah, but yeah, let's just roll into it. I would also like to say we did not have the script this week. We did say in the preview we may or may not have it. We didn't have it this week. But yeah, Cowboys lose week 3. It was an ugly, ugly game all around, and we've been going back and forth in the group chat. We've got a lot of thoughts. So we'll just start it out with just some general thoughts about the game, and then we'll break down each side of the ball, and then we'll go into some other things down the line. But let's just go around the horn. I know we're all waiting to rant, and I know no one wants to rant more than the guy who's still wearing the Cowboys t-shirt the day after one of the most embarrassing losses that we can remember. So Spanky, why don't you kick us off?
It's one thing if we write off the Arizona Cardinals. It's another thing if the coaching staff and players do. Starting off, why the fuck was Tyron Smith even active or suited up for the game? That made
Understand
zero
that.
sense.
Yep.
Zero sense. Because if if there was a moment to put him in, that was clear as day. Or defensively and offensively, it was just blown assignment central. And as much as I want to give the Arizona Cardinals credit for kicking our ass, they perfectly game planned for the exact weaknesses of that Week 3 Cowboys team, whether it was Chuma Idoga sucking ass at left tackle.
Not a tackle. Definitely not a
Yeah.
tackle.
Gave me flashbacks of a certain left tackle against the Atlanta Falcons, honestly. It gave me tremendous flashbacks.
Chest grand.
And then between that and just having 3, I'll say just not starting quality players yet. Of course, 2 of them are younger, but Idoga, I don't understand the coaching to keep him at tackle, especially with Tyler Smith back. Just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me in the grand scheme of things, and it resulted in Tony Pollard actually had a decent game. Same with Dowdle, but our pass game and the lack thereof was largely due to our route concepts. One, just being clamped by the Arizona Cardinals. Dak had 0 places to go with the ball 50% of the time. And the other 50%, it was just a dump off. Like we didn't have the time to throw deep at all. There was one play that I saw on Twitter where CeeDee Lamb actually beat his guy open middle of the field on a post, and Idoga let the guy in between him and Tyler Smith run free at Dak, so Dak had to scramble out for a first down.
Yep.
The wide receivers and tight ends really didn't step up, and I'm just scared, honestly. It scared me a little, but that's enough of my rant on offense. But on defense, man, this is the opposite of what I was feeling after the first 2 weeks. We called ourselves Hot Boys, the best defense in the nation. that arguably we could be on pace to be the best defense in NFL history. Man, is Trayvon Diggs the glue guy of our team? It sure appears so. Both Stephon Gilmore and Deron Bland had horrendous games. Our whole entire safety room had horrendous games. Our D line were playing hero ball in the run game, and wow, look at that. The weaknesses of the Dallas Cowboys that we pointed out last week hurt us. Josh Dobbs scrambling, where we abandoned our rush lanes up for defensive line in the pass game. In the run game, we looked lost between LVE, between Jaron Curse, between Donovan Wilson, the angles, and just the overall just fuck you. I'm going to go play my heart out. Every single snap factor of the Dallas Cowboys defense wasn't present this week. The effort, it seemed like we were playing Xavier Woods 75% max ball, and it just didn't make sense to me. That wasn't the same defense we saw. And I know we're trying to overcome the Trayvon Diggs news. We're 1-8 against the Cardinals in our last 9 games. But this is inexcusable from Dak Prescott to Chauncey Golston. No one came to show up yesterday. No one. And, you could point out, yes, Tony Pollard had a good game. Yeah, we saw some Michael Gallup. Yeah, Micah Parsons got a sack. But, I mean, when is someone on this defense or team in general, step up and win us a game when the rest of our team is flat? And we're waiting for that. We need that. We need Micah to say, fuck you, I'm going to go out there. We need Dak to say, I got a new bad bitch on my shoulder, and I'm going to go fucking huck this rock to CD because he's a true alpha wide receiver. Where was Brandon Cooks all game? Nowhere. Where was Jake Ferguson? Sure, he had 38 yards receiving.
48.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, boys. Besides a couple gimmies against the damn Giants and Jets, my panic meter is starting to raise in that tight end room too. So we just came out overall flat. Credit to the Arizona Cardinals. Hit us vertically. Pick on not our horizontal sideline to sideline speed. Pick on our over aggression and Dan Quinn running stunts to beat us. Because James Conner's not that good. Josh Dobbs is not that good. Hollywood Brown's not that good. And we made them look like Pro Bowl players.
You said it perfectly, Spanky. I don't have much else to say. More of what I'm going to talk about, that I want to talk about, is more of the offensive side of the ball. Everyone's talking about the red zone offense, and that's obvious. That's where we're talking about. You said panic meter. My panic meter is not high. My panic meter is high in our red zone scheme. It's embarrassing. It also doesn't help that we had seems like 5 or 6 penalties in the red zone, and it felt like we had second, third, and all of a sudden it'd be 2nd and 8, and then figure out it'd be 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, and be 3rd and long, and we were just getting screwed there. Brandon Cooks, you said Brandon Cooks' name. He had 2 catches for 12 yards, but he had 7 targets. I think that's more the factor that we noticed and we talked about yesterday. They were texting each other. More noticeable about there was no separation whatsoever between these wide receivers and these. One of them was a rookie corner who stood no chance. And we had no separation. CeeDee Lamb in the end zone on a fade, which I don't like the play call, but it seemed like he was he didn't want to catch a touchdown. He just wanted to get a flag.
No effort
Whatsoever. He raised his hand up and the ball was still halfway to him, acting like he was getting the call. I just don't understand what was going on in our play calling and our schemes on offense. Tony Pollard, yeah, he looked good. Sure, whatever. Good for him. We should be able to run the ball well against this type of team. But how good their front seven is, it's god awful. And we had a terrible scheme passing the football. Does Spank get booted?
Yeah, he's having a whole connection issue, but just keep going.
Keep going. And then our penalties. We had 11 penalties in the first half. We had more. But it's more that just got declined. It was just embarrassing all around. We only had 2 total sacks. And one was by Mike and one was by DeMarcus. Whatever. Who cares? They did the exact same thing we talked about last week. Run right at Micah Parsons. Just do it. Run right at him. LVE is nowhere to be found. He had what, 2 tackles? Yeah, 2 total tackles. Um, that's embarrassing from your middle linebacker. He needs to step up, and they need to figure out a way to get him more involved in the run game and pass game, to where he can shine. Because I think he's a top 10 middle linebacker in football. He's not a bad football player. I think he's good, but there seems like they're putting him outside of the scheme of what we need him to be. And that's just go in there and just blow up plays and make tackles. And he's had 5 tackles combined the past 2 games. Um, this team is a good football team. We will make the playoffs. We were going to lose games this year. I mean, 12-5, 13-4. We weren't going 17-0. If you thought we were going 17-0, you're crazy. We're going to lose football games, and we're always going to lose football games we shouldn't. But that also hurts when you lose to a team like this. There's no excuse for it whatsoever. Never should be an excuse for this type of game. Mike McCarthy needs to figure out how to, because I feel like he's a good coach and getting the boys juiced up and fired up. But at the same time, you shouldn't be fired up for a football game. You're a professional athlete. You're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game that you love. Like, that should be momentum enough to go out there and play your football game, how you're supposed to play it. And that's hard every single play. It was despicable. It was embarrassing, and people should be shitting how we played yesterday because it was embarrassing. I got much
Yeah.
else to say.
Yeah. You guys made a lot of the points, that I just wanted to talk about just in general. There were a couple things that were very, very obvious to me. Just um, I mean, obviously we're diehards, but from someone, from a perspective, let's say, of a person that doesn't watch that much football, um, two things were blatantly obvious yesterday, and it's not concerning yet, but it could be concerning. You talked about it, Stu, getting the guys fired up. One team wanted to win that game yesterday. The other team walked in there with an undefeated record and thought that the game was going to be handed to them on a silver platter.
Mhm.
And it's not hard to tell which team was which. The Cardinals wanted that game. They played hard from the opening kick to the final whistle. So credit to them, credit to Jonathan Gannon and his staff. They played a great game. Josh Alves played a great game. But the Cowboys walked in there with the mentality of, hey, we're the Dallas fucking Cowboys and we're, 2 touchdown favorites on the road and we're gonna win this game because we're the Dallas Cowboys. And it was blatantly obvious they were outcoached, they were outplayed in all 3 phases of the game. And I'm very concerned what we saw yesterday. What I'm concerned about is that it looks like the Cowboys teams of the McCarthy era, undisciplined, and just being outcoached in all facets of the game, not ready to go, and just the overall lack of effort was just terrible. You talked about it on the CD play in the end zone. Just no effort to go up and get the ball. My cousin, he had money in a parlay, and all he needed was a CD touchdown. And he was texting me. He was like, why didn't CD go for that ball? And at first, like, I was still in the mindset of, oh, we're gonna come back, we're gonna win this game. It's not a big deal. He's gonna get his touchdown. And then when I saw the replay on Twitter, I was like, that is really just a microcosm of the entire game. There was just no effort. It was, I mean, you want to go position by position and break it down. I mean, just the penalties were terrible. Uh, Dak was okay. He wasn't great. The running game was solid. Pollard and Dowdle played well. Receivers not great. I mean, there was no separation outside, until the end when we started going up tempo and Dak was just, hitting Michael Gallup. It seemed like, on the last couple of drives, but it was really bad to watch for this defense that prides themselves and thinks of themselves as like the best unit in the league. They were all bark no bite yesterday. How do you get gashed for 180 yards rushing in the first half? Like, how does that happen against a team which, I already said that we apologize to the Cardinals, but this is a team that we should have beaten. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Um, and I mean, it was just sad. I talked about it last week. I said it wasn't going to be an issue. Because we looked at this week as a get right game for the offense, right? For the red zone offense. 1 for 5 in the red zone yesterday. I think this season in the red zone, I think we have like 2 touchdowns this year. Like
Mhm.
at this point, we're 3 weeks in. I wasn't ready to sound the alarm like in a full panic last week. I'm ready to panic. It's the inability to finish drives. If it's killing us against the Cardinals, imagine what's going to happen later in the season. We have to play Miami, we have to play Buffalo, we have to play Philly twice. We got to play a hungry Commanders team. There's a lot of good teams.
49ers in 2 weeks.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of good teams, and if we don't get this figured out quickly, it's not going to be good. Um, yeah, that's just my general thoughts. I mean, just again, one team wanted to win the game, the other team expected to be handed to them. It was just sad. And it was very, very, very frustrating. Spanky, you and I went to that Cowboys Broncos game 2 years ago at AT&T Stadium. I think it was like what, like
Oh,
week 4 of
oh,
2021 or whatever. And
yeah.
everyone and their mother had the Cowboys winning that game. We went to that game. We were like, oh, we're gonna get to watch us blow out the Broncos, and we get embarrassed on our home field, and we left before the fourth quarter even started. Like, just a brutal game. That's pretty much it in terms of general thoughts. I want to shift into just focusing more on the offense. We've already alluded to it a lot. Lack of effort. O-line wasn't great. Receivers weren't great. Dak wasn't great. Um, I do want to kick things off on a little bit more of a positive note on the offensive side. Um, Good game by Michael Gallup. He looked good. Stu, you had him, as your guy to watch this week. I mean, he was good yesterday. There's no doubt about that. He looked solid. He was getting separation, which was fun to see. Granted, some of his catches were at the end of the game when Cardinals were given space, but whatever. He did what he had to do. Brandon Cooks, not great. CeeDee Lamb, okay, not great. I thought the O line, the young guys, I thought Hoffman and Bass actually played pretty well. Idoga was the issue, which Idoga, solid O lineman. He's not a tackle. I think that was made blatantly obvious yesterday. If that's the guy that we signed to be our swing tackle, then we might have a problem. Because we all know, and we've talked about it before on this pod, Tyron Smith is not going to last for a 17-game season. So if he goes down, what do we do? Do we play Adoga at left guard and bump Tyler out? That's what I would have liked to have seen yesterday, is the second half adjustment of that when it was clear that Adoga just couldn't handle it. Um, but yeah, let's I guess, yeah, I was trying to make that into a positive for Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass, but ended up kind of dumping on Chuma Edoga there. But yeah, let's talk about the offense. Spanky, what
Yeah.
do you got?
Uh, I don't really want to go against what you said. Hoffman had a good game, pass blocking wise. TJ Bass had a 33% pass blocking grade, with 3 pressures and 3 hurries. And Chuma Idoga had a 56.1 pass block grade with 3 pressures, 2 hurries, and 1 quarterback hit. Um, I'm concerned with why we didn't do what made our offense really good in the past, and it's kind of reaching that territory of where we would complain about this with Kellen Moore. Where was all like the misdirection, the pre-snap motion, people moving around, quick tempo, in and out of the huddle, get to the line of scrimmage, you hike the ball? There was none of that. We slowed things down for whatever reason, and I don't know if that's because, like we've said many times, and what the excuse we're going to hang on to is 3 offensive line backups, but it just overall wasn't really pretty. Most of these offensive concepts that we ran, I guess whatever Gannon's first name, the ex-Eagles DC that we played for 2 years now, we just didn't have anything. Like, normally we could deke and dot, and when teams take that away from us, we're supposed to be able to beat them over top. We just got Brandon Cooks, the speedster that we saw clips all training camp, that 1,000-yard wide receiver with multiple quarterbacks on multiple teams and multiple systems. We didn't see any of that. And I know some of the casuals are going to be like, oh, classic Dak Prescott not being able to win the game. But it really wasn't on him. And if you really watch plays, we'll put out some all-22 film. There were plays that just needed another second. There's the CD play over the middle. There's countless run plays that we just needed that block. Zach Martin makes that block. Tyron Smith makes that block. Biotish makes that block. Yeah, I got his name fucking right because I'm so angry. But just our offense just looked putrid, and our play calling looked just, the Cardinals were able to guess that. And then inside the red zone, man, it's just like we're a chicken with our head cut off, just trying to throw anything at the wall, see what sticks. And oh man, it's frustrating because red zone offense never used to be a concern with a certain number 21, and people are going to start clinging to that now and being like, we should never have gotten rid of him. And we can't sit here, and Mike McCarthy can't sit here and say no, that's wrong, because simply put, our red zone offense has been putrid, awful. Going back on your point that you said earlier, I wouldn't say CeeDee Lamb had an okay game. He got the volume to be able to produce an okay game, but that volume, it's CeeDee fucking Lamb. He wears number 88. I know the past 88 scored from the 5-yard line with 6 Arizona Cardinals surrounding him. There's a certain dog that Dez Bryant was that he can completely say, fuck it, our run game's not working, no other wide receivers aren't getting open, throw the ball to me. And for as slithery as CD is with the ball in his hands, for as good of catches and flashy plays he makes, this is a game where we need to ask the question, where were you? Because the lack of effort on CeeDee Lamb's part for the touch, for like an end zone grab, so you should be all over that. You haven't scored a touchdown yet this year, my brother. You haven't scored a touchdown. This is the Arizona Cardinals. What, Marco Wilson's guarding you? Are you kidding me? A guy's career made off of throwing his cleat against LSU? That's insane. And also, I just want to go on the point. I'm not blaming the Stripes. Our lack of discipline was just red flag all over the Mike McCarthy era. But how the fuck wasn't that a PI on Michael Gallup?
No, it was
How
a PI.
How did they
well,
waive that?
The issues they called it and then they took it away.
Yeah, I don't know how you picked that up. Still, it shouldn't, like, the game shouldn't come down to that. Like, that's not correct. Something we're hanging our hat on. But that was 100% PI.
Who says the game even hung up on that? We shouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly.
It just stinks because there's so many excuses we could hang our hats on right here. But overall, I'm at a loss of words for what I saw from this offense, and I really need to watch this all-22 film that comes out because it just seemed like we completely got our game plan wrong, and that's scary. That is the scariest part. After the week of practice and the news from our practices lately, getting the game plan against the Arizona Cardinals completely wrong, that's fucking scary.
Yeah, I'm going to start the positive, and that's Pollard looked good in the run game, 23 carries, 122 yards. That's good. Dowdle looked good, 3 carries, 4 carries, 21 yards, and Dak had 3 carries for 24 yards. And we got CD the ball a couple times in the run game. I like seeing that. I like CD getting the ball in his hands as much as possible. But my issue with everything that happened yesterday was we looked so good in the first 2 games. I don't mean to keep bringing the past 2 games up, but Tony Pollard got the ball in space with his hand on pass catches 5 or 6 times each game. He had 3 catches for -1 yards. He should never have less than 3 catches, and he should never have less than 20 yards receiving in a game. I don't care if you hand the ball off 23 times to him. He needs 30 touches, especially how you look yesterday when you can't move the ball. You move the ball downfield, but you can't finish off drives. Get it into our best playmaker yesterday's hands. And yesterday, our best playmaker was Tony Pollard. You can make a case for Michael Gallup, but our best playmaker yesterday was Tony Pollard. Get him the freaking football. I don't care how you do it. Get him in space. You watched him last year. There's a reason why we didn't sign 21 back. There's a reason. He looks like a number one running back last year. And this year, you need to get him the ball, especially in pass catching situations. 3 catches, -1 yard is ridiculous. Should never happen. Michael Gallup looks great, especially that they got on the ball early, which I like to see. Because obviously the first 2 games he didn't get the ball early, didn't get the ball at all. So getting him the ball early, that should open up stuff for our offense. That means you have a third guy on the receiving core you should be able to have to watch with Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. And then my issue now is the tight ends. Um, Jake Ferguson, 5'48", great. He's not going to be able to break open a big play. He may get a 20-yard catch here and there, but he's going to be that 5-yard out guy, that 5-yard slant guy. He's not catching the ball going down the seam at all like Dalton Schultz was. He just can't do it. I don't think he's fast enough. I don't think he's athletic enough. So here's the question I'm about to ask y'all. If I like Jake Ferguson, I like him in the run game, do you go out and trade for Kyle Pitts? Do you
Yes.
send one of our young tight ends and say, now you're not trading Kyle Pitts for a run blocking tight end. If Brandon Cooks can't get open, it's 1 game. I know. And he missed the last game. He's 1 game. I know. But 7 targets, only 2 catches because you get no separation. You're supposed to be the speed guy. There was a play yesterday I saw that Kyle Pitts had where Desmond Ritter overthrew him by 5 yards and he was down the seam, burned a safety. I would like to see him on our team. And you get the ball, that man in space, he's going to go off. I mean, our offense is
1000%.
designed. If you watched Dalton Schultz last year, Kyle Pitts should already be a better tight end than him, but he's not because he's in a faulty system, and it's not his fault. He's in a faulty system because they can't get him the football. We can get him the football. You should go out and get him in a heartbeat. And that all comes down to what we talked about with Brandon Cooks. It's 1 game, but you can't have 7 targets. And it looks like it was Noah Brown last year where he had a guy draped over him the whole entire time. There was no separation whatsoever. And that should not happen on a speedy wide receiver who you went out and traded for. Shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. And to answer your Kyle Pitts question, yes, 100,000%. But I mean, if you think the Atlanta Falcons are going to pick up a phone call and say yes to Peyton Hendershot in a 4th-round pick, you're smoking rock. Unfortunately,
You're gonna have to give up a first or second round draft pick probably.
1,000%. And that's when I get a little hesitant. If we actually can scheme him, and from the outside looking in, we're all at home doing a podcast about the Cowboys. So, I mean, obviously our football brains work a little different than coaches, but it just seems like a perfect system for him that we need someone that dominates the middle of the field. And that's what our offense lacks. And we were hopeful that Jake Ferguson stepped into it. Yes, it was only week 3. He already has a touchdown this year. But man, the way Dak uses tight ends, you would think that getting the most athletic tight end of all time, arguably Kyle Pitts, would just set our offense apart. Not only would it create mismatches, but I mean, I don't think defenses respect us across the middle at all.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
One of the key parts of a passing offense is to keep the defense honest. And if you can't throw the ball in the middle of the field, or if you can't take long shots, I mean, they're going to play one simple defense that shuts us down, and that happened yesterday. Kyle Pitts, yes, he can alleviate that. But, I mean, for a second or a first-round pick, I don't know, because you're going to have to pay him around the same time you pay Micah. So that begs a question. That begs a question where Cap Boy Steven Jones comes in and says we can't afford anything. So if you were to tell me, would you trade Dorrance in a second?
Yeah.
Probably going to cost more than that, but that's a great start. I mean, Dorrance is a unrestricted free agent next year, $6 million against the cap. But
Yeah.
I think our issues lie greater than the tight end room. But that would be a good start.
Also, what I have to say is, you scored 16 points yesterday, but you have 416 total yards. And then you also have the ball for 9 minutes more than the Cardinals did. That's a recipe for success. And of course, Bennett, you're probably going to we talked about earlier, it's all going to come down to the red zone. You said it earlier, 1 for 5 in the red zone. You've had 2 touchdowns. I would like to say you're right about that, Bennett. 2 touchdowns so far in the red zone this year, and the rest have been field goals. There's a reason why Brandon Aubrey is the first kicker in NFL history to make 10 consecutive field goals in his first 3 games. You don't do that by scoring touchdowns. You do that because you have to settle for field goals. And
Yeah.
he's kicking these, and he's made them all. Thank goodness we have a kicker now. Cheap 3-year deal, and we've now 2 for 2 on getting guys from the USFL. Great job on our scouting department. But score some fucking touchdowns, please, for the love of God. Red zone should not be an issue for how talented this team is. It just shouldn't be. And Schottenheimer and McCarthy should better go down and talk to Dak and see what he thinks. And them three need to get together and make a great game plan against the Patriots, because Patriots are not going to give up touchdowns easily. They're going to
Yeah,
be a
it's Bill
solid.
Belichick, man.
Exactly.
It's a
They're
Yeah.
pissed
going to be a
off Bill
solid
Belichick.
defense. Exactly. I do not like seeing a pissed off Bill Belichick. So them three better step up and figure out how to score touchdowns against the Patriots, because it's not going to be easy. But we might be talking about it again next week about a red zone offense again, and I don't want to talk about that for 17 weeks. I just can't do it. This team should be scoring touchdowns. It's just solid. It's all it is.
Yeah. So first thought, to answer your question about the Kyle Pitts trade, it's kind of like Spanky said, like on paper, that sounds awesome. But the thing that I worry about, and especially right now with where our offense is that some of the things that we're doing on offense, like, okay, running the ball's been solid. But it's clear that the passing attack isn't there yet for whatever reason. I think part of that has to do with the fact that it's probably at this point, I would say it's probably a lack of trust, and a lack of just chemistry that Dak has with Cooks and with Ferguson, because we know Dak trusted Schultz. That's why we franchise tagged him and brought him back last year, because Schultz was Dak's guy. I don't think that he's there yet in terms of chemistry. I don't think he's there yet with Ferguson. I think he'll get there. I'm not ready to give up on the tight end room, but I do agree it is concerning. Just based on what we've seen so far. Um, Brandon Cooks yesterday, you guys already touched on it. He was, I mean, for the guy that's supposed to be our savvy veteran, security blanket, speed guy, like we haven't seen it yet. I do wonder if it's maybe he's not in full gear yet, coming off that injury that he had. So I'm willing to give him a couple more games, but we are going to have a game this year. It could be as early as this week, because we know anyone that knows the New England Patriots knows how Bill Belichick loves to take away an opposing team's best player. And we know that he's going to zero in on 88 this week. So it's going to be up to guys like Cooks and like Gallup and like Jake Ferguson to step up this week, which we'll talk about more on Thursday. But I just can't get over the thought watching yesterday's game how much it felt like watching the Cowboys of the last couple of years. Just especially last year, just wide receivers not getting open, flat play calling, like predictable, non-creative play calling, and it's just weird. Like I don't it's not concerning yet. Like we're 3 weeks into the season, but the direction that we're trending, it's going to be concerning within the next week or two, and that's honestly what scares me. Spanky started off our talk about offense by saying that he's scared. I'm in the same boat too. I don't know what to think of this offense at this point, um, but it's definitely concerning. I mean, 1 for 5 in the red zone, just like you said, like Aubrey, awesome. 10 for 10 on field goals. That's great. We have a kicker,
Mhm.
awesome. We're gonna need him down the line. But we can't the bottom line is that we're not scoring touchdowns right now. And that's a big problem. How are we 3 weeks into the season and CeeDee Lamb doesn't have a touchdown yet? How is that possible? Like I just don't get it.
None of our wide
Um
receivers have a touchdown besides Turpin, and that was a run.
wow.
Our only passing touchdowns have been Schoonmaker and Ferguson.
And Dowdle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dowdle was a screen pass.
Wow. Yeah, that's concerning.
That's concerning.
For sure. That's concerning. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. You guys absolutely nailed it. I'll just leave, in terms of the offense before we'll shift over to the defense. But my last thought on the offense is, we talked about panic meter earlier. My panic meter at the offense, after the Jets game, it was probably at like a 3. I would say right now it's comfortably at like a 6 or 7.
I was saying
Like
6.5.
yeah, like it's not an overbearing problem. Well, it is, but I think we're at the stage of the season where it's correctable. And I'm not ready to fully sound the alarm and say, okay, we need a drastic change. But the direction that we're trending in, come a week from now when we're breaking down the New England game, it the direction that we're going in, it's not we're gonna be saying the exact same thing, and our panic meters are gonna be a lot higher. Um, but speaking of panic meter, shifting to the defensive side of the ball, um, I mean, I'll just say, what the fuck was that? Um, I mean, that was horrible. That was horrendous. I I just don't get it. Jonathan Gannon, credit to him, pretty much took Micah Parsons out of that game outside of that one sack. Um, I mean, Demarcus Lawrence had a sack too. Spanky mentioned it earlier. Uh, I I had this thought, and we were texting about it yesterday, but I think that the Trayvon Diggs injury, just based on early returns, is a lot more significant to this team's future success this season than we anticipated. We knew that Bland was going to be picked on, and I have a lot of confidence in Deron Bland still. I think he's going to turn it around. He'll be fine. He didn't realize he was going to be, playing as that outside corner until Thursday afternoon. So I'm willing to cut him a little bit of slack, but it is concerning that Stephon Gilmore, I hope it's just because he was matched up against Hollywood Brown, but he looked slow. And we talked about it last week when we were breaking down the Diggs thing. Obviously, I'm very, very grateful that we have Stephon Gilmore on this team. I still believe in him. I think he'll be fine. But it's like we said, I don't know that he's a number one corner at this stage of his career. We saw him get torched by Garrett Wilson. We saw him get gashed by Hollywood Brown yesterday. He doesn't have that same gear that he had when he was defensive player of the year on the Patriots, or when he was, a stud corner on Buffalo. He just doesn't have that gear. Um, but just my overall thought about the defense was that, for a defense that, I mean, again, I said it earlier, all bark, no bite. For a defense that, claims to be a bunch of dogs, they got gashed yesterday. I mean, you give up over 200 yards rushing to the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, I I just don't get it. And it's not even just like the D line was bad. The linebackers weren't great. Secondary was god awful. Safety room was terrible yesterday. Malik Hooker, that last blown coverage play he had on that, whatever that Cardinals receiver Wilson on that blown coverage on that 70-yard play that basically ended the game. I mean, what are you doing there? Like, I watching the replay back from multiple angles, it's like I if it was a miscommunication or a blown assignment on a corner and he had to pick up the slack, like, I don't know what happened, but that's something that can't happen at that stage of the game, especially with this defense. That can't happen. And we love Dan Quinn. We're all, big DQ guys, but this is a early season stain on your resume. You can't you can't give up 200 plus yards rushing and 180 yards in the first half to the Arizona Cardinals, a team that many people didn't even have winning a game this year. It was ugly. And we'll get to our good, bad, and ugly this week. Not great, good, and bad like it is after wins. Good, bad, and ugly. We'll get to that after we break down the defense and we hear y'all's thoughts. But just the defense as a whole was a mess. And I'm curious to hear what y'all have to add on.
Yeah. Normally we do the stat corner at the end of the thing, but I just want to do it now. Micah Parsons finished with 5 pressures, a sack, 2 run stops, and a 21.7% pass rush win rate. No.
Hi.
Yeah, that's Kim Spangler.
Hi, Kim.
Evan Spanky.
Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn came out publicly, more Dan Quinn than Mike, and said the only Cowboy players that played well were Malik Hooker, Deron Bland, and DeMarcus Lawrence. Kind of like what you said, Burke. I'm looking at that room right now, and I'm looking at the veteran leaders. If I'm Dan Quinn, I'm sitting Jaron Kearse down. If I'm Dan Quinn, I'm sitting DeMarcus Lawrence down. If I'm Dan Quinn, I'm sitting Stephon Gilmore down. And I'm saying, what the fuck went wrong? Rondale Moore in the backfield on a zone left play, 48-yard touchdown. Kearse looked lost. The first opening Joshua Dobbs run,
44.
Donovan Wilson looked horrible. I don't know if we rushed these players back because Cooks and Donovan Wilson looked like shadows of themselves. But, man, between the angles, between everything that those DBs have been so vocal about, yeah, we're the fucking best unit. Like, Jaron Kearse looked stuck in the mud. I don't know if the Cardinals grew their grass out and we weren't prepared for that, or what the case was. I'm not panicking. My panic meter is at about a 4, 3, maybe a 3 with the defense. You also got to understand how big of just a morale loss losing your second best defensive player is on a Thursday. I don't care who you are. If the Eagles lost Darius Slay in a practice injury on a Thursday, chances are their defense is going to be a bit shaken. And it just sucks. It sucks. The corners didn't look good at all. And our DB, I think our DB room as a whole was probably the worst performance we've seen in the Dan Quinn era, I would say. The Cardinals do not, and I'm sorry, I know they just beat us. Their passing offense is probably on par with a Matt Canada-led Steelers pass offense. Like, they are not good. The Steelers even have more talent than them, but it's just Matt Canada. But, and then don't even get me started. The Cowboys' run defense, I love Chauncey Golston, kind of, not really, but like, fuck, play Hankins, Mozzie
Come on the
Smith.
pod though, Chauncey Golston.
Yeah, play Mozzie fucking Smith and Hankins every single play if that means we're gonna stop the run. It is James Conner. You know who we're playing fucking the next 2 weeks is Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke, and then Christian McCaffrey. Like, is James Conner half of those players? No. The short answer is no, he's not. He is probably going to get dealt, probably not going to get a deal at all when he's a fucking free agent. He's not good at all. Like, maybe he's good in these short yardage situations, but for James Conner to be breaking 30-yard runs against our defense and just outlegging half of our defense, we need Deron Bland from the other side of the field to knock him out of bounds. That's pitiful. That is pitiful. And you know what, Jaron Kearse? You know what, Leighton Vander Esch and Damone Clark? You need to step the fuck up because this is not a good run offense. Sure, Josh Dobbs has some athleticism. Sure, James Conner's decent, whatever. This is going to be in the lowest percentile of team this year that we play. It goes back to the question that we are lost when we play mobile quarterbacks. It goes back to that question. I mean, Josh Dobbs being able to leg a long-ass run and James Conner being able to leg long runs and gash us on these huge chunk plays are blown assignments. That's what it boils down to. I don't know if it's Dan Quinn calling stunts and the Arizona Cardinals offensive play calling just perfectly timing those runs and those passes according to our stunts. Maybe they had our fucking play calls. I don't know. It looked like it. But I really can't think of a game where I've sat and was like, our defense is helpless right now. And I wish I could hang my hat on the stat that said, oh, the Cardinals outpaced us. Like they had more time of possession. We got tired. But that's not even the case. Hollywood Brown, James Conner, and a Josh Dobbs led team should not have done the damage they did. And because of that, because of the damage they did, I'm just hoping Mac Jones and company are in for a rude awakening, because if Mac Jones and company puts up more than 24 points, 20 points
3 touchdowns
in that ballpark, they shouldn't score more than 24. If they do, my panic meter is about a 9 going into San Francisco, because San Francisco, if the fucking Cardinals and the Patriots offenses scored a lot on us and made our defense look bad, Lord only knows what McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Trent Williams, and co will do to us. Because, I mean, if the playoff success against them in the past is any indicator of that, we're fucked against San Francisco.
I agree. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet.
Sorry,
Josh
I go on
Dobbs.
rants.
No, yeah, you're good. You can take all of the time you want. Josh Dobbs should never go 17 for 21 against your defense.
How many
4
yards do you have?
incompletions.
That was his stat
189.
line?
Yeah, 17 for 21. I think
How many-
189 yards.
Oh, that's
what it
just pitiful.
But they would just dink and dunk the whole time. It was just get out fast. And they had the right game plan to where run it down Micah's throat and then throw it away from him. Run it right at him and then throw it the opposite side of the field. That's all you got to do to beat Micah Parsons. He's going to get a sack. He's going to get 2 sacks eventually in the game. But if you just do exactly what the Cardinals did, they figured out how to beat a Micah Parsons-led defense, is exactly what they did. LVE, I said it earlier, sucks right now at this moment in time. I still don't know if it's his fault. Do what?
I said good save.
Yeah. If
Come on the
I don't know
pod.
if it's LVE or if it's Dan Quinn. But he needs to step it up, or teams are just going to run right down our throats every single weekend and week out. You said it, Spanky. We faced from Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott, who Ezekiel Elliott might go for 200 yards against us if he wanted to, with how he played this past week. And he wants
I mean,
to.
a Zeke
Dallas.
touchdowns should be guaranteed next week.
It has
I'm
to
gonna
be
hit
guaranteed.
that. I'm gonna hit
Yeah.
that.
And then you play Christian McCaffrey after that. I mean, we play one good running back, one fantastic running back, and an old timer who still thinks he's good. So we'll see what happens next week. We'll talk about it later. But our defense needs to step it up. The stupid penalties we had. We talked about the whole ref stripe situation earlier. There was no offsides call on the 4th and 5, 50-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Where did they even see
And
that?
I mean, there was a
phantom
holding on Mike
offsides.
in the end zone, which should have been a safety.
Yeah.
It wasn't called, but
Yep, exactly.
I mean,
There were just some
I guess
penalties that
technically he started the hold before the goal line. I don't know. I don't love that rule. I don't love that rule. I'll just say that.
yeah.
But this team, Dan Quinn better light some fire underneath their ass this week, because they have a long way to go without Trayvon Diggs. And my last thing I'm going to say is, you talked about last week, and when y'all brought it up, Stephon Gilmore, I think it was you, Bennett. Stephon Gilmore looked slow, and I hope it's because he was facing Hollywood Brown. Because if he actually is slow, then there's some wide receivers out there who can beat him all day. I really hope and pray that our secondary steps it up next week. Deron Bland, I thought he played an okay game. I don't know what Dan Quinn was. Yeah, he said he played a good game. It was meh. There's no reason why that any of those wide receivers should have a good day. Stephon Gilmore needs to step it up. Donovan Wilson had a terrible game. And I would like to see more Marquise Bell. He played, 9 snaps?
9 snaps.
get him more involved, because it seems like when he's involved in the game, he makes plays. And we need that clearly, because we didn't make a lot of plays yesterday. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. In terms of the defensive side, I mean, I already said it before I kicked it over to you guys. Just um, the panic meter, it's not very high yet. Um, but it's the same thing as with the offense. If we keep trending in this direction, it's going to be an issue. I can tell you that this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they looked like they were mentally just stuck in the clouds about the Diggs injury. Which uh I mean, they're all grown men, and if we can realize it from our couch, then I would hope that they would too. But newsflash, this is the NFL. People don't give a shit. Um, at the end of the day, you still got to fucking suit up on Sundays. You got to lace them up and go play a game. And obviously, it sucks for Trayvon. We already talked about this, but at the end of the day, go out there and go play for him. Like if you're that upset about the injury, go fucking hit the shit out of someone. Like go play for him. Go be the dogs that you say that you are. So it's frustrating. I sound like a broken record, but all bark no bite yesterday. Very disappointing. Just all around, just disappointed. Bad effort. Um, we're starting to get a little long here on time. So before we do our good, bad, and ugly, let's knock out the stat corner real quick. Just because I had one that I heard. And it's like yesterday we gave up 400 total yards to the Cardinals. First 2 weeks combined, we give up 386 combined. So, yeah.
Our pass defense, in terms of W3 percentile rankings by EPA play percentage, which heavily punishes interceptions plus failures on third down and at the goal line. So it heavily punishes those kind of results. Ranked in the given, you want to be a high percentile here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ranked 37th percentile in pass defense, 37th in run defense, third percentile, which means 97% of the league was better at stopping the run. That's my stat number one. Stat number two, Cowboys are 1-7 against the Cardinals since 2008. Okay.
Which is nuts.
I'm gonna hang my hat on that.
We just can't beat the Cardinals.
And it's not a stat, but I just want to air out one more time. It's sickening because the root of our issues on defense and majority on offense seem to be effort, and that's inexcusable. I mean, if our team came out and looked like they wanted to win the game, I would be filled with a little more hope, but we looked just sorry for ourselves. And you said it, Burke. Trayvon went out. He's injured season long. It fucking sucks, but the season doesn't just stop.
Right.
Like, we're the Dallas Cowboys, not Trayvon Diggs. That's the difference. And I love Trayvon, and he's a key player of this team. But if you think he wants you to sit down and let Josh Dobbs and co run through you, you're smoking rock. And I hope our leaders on defense, and I hope Jaron Kearse and D-Log get together with them, because you can't come out flat against the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, who's 1-2. Yeah, good luck if you think they're going to roll over.
Right.
I don't have any. I'm going to save my stat for the good, bad, and ugly.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll just get into it. Normally it would be the great, good, bad. That's what we did the last 2 weeks. But today, without a doubt, it's the the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah, I'll let you guys start it. Let's try to make this one quick.
Yeah, the good rushing game, Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle. The bad was not being able to minimize chunk plays on defense. And the ugly is our red zone offensive efficiency.
Yeah, so good. Mine's gonna be Michael Gallup. Seems like he's back, which is a great thing. We need him. The bad, this one's gonna be Cardinals average 7.5 yards per play, which is horrendous. And then the
Putrid.
ugly is that we had 416 total yards of offense, and we had the ball for 9 minutes more than the Cardinals did, and we lost by 12.
And scored 17 points.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. My good Spanky, we actually had the exact same picks. I just had them ordered differently. So my good was also the running backs, Pollard, Dowdle. Good games out of them. My bad was initially it was gonna be red zone play calling. I just changed it to discipline. I mean this team's on discipline. It's a staple of the McCarthy era, unfortunately. And then the ugly was just the defense as a whole. I mean, we already just talked a whole number about it, but just terrible, just terrible. Um, so shifting into our last thing here, we'll try to keep this brief too. But we talked about as we were moving through it, the panic meter that we had. So let's just put it all together. We'll go panic meter on offense, panic meter on defense, and then your panic meter about the team as a whole. Um, we'll go. Each person gives all three of their scores. We'll write it down and we'll give an average. So Spanky, what is your panic meter for the offense?
Offense, it is a 6.
How about for the defense?
Defense, it's a 3.
Okay. Team as a whole.
I'll just split them. And are we allowed a pizza score decimal it, or you want a whole number?
Yeah.
I'll say 4.5.
Okay. All right. Stu, what do you
Mine's
have?
gonna be offense. I'm gonna go to 6.5. I think I'm more panicked than Spanky is, not by much. Defense, I'm gonna say I want to give it a low score. I do, but I just can't. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
And then as a whole, just do a 5.
Okay. All right. For the offense, I'm gonna go with the 6.5 as well. Defense, just to be a little different. I'll, I'll go in the middle. I'll say a 3.5. Team as a whole, I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna say a 6. Um, just average this out real quick. Stu's total panic rating was 4.5. Or sorry, that was Spanky's. Sorry, can't read um my own work here. Clayton's was a 5.17.
Nice.
Fun number.
Yeah, scoregami. And mine was a 5.33. So basically, we're all worried but not panicked yet. But again, as I've said
Could all
before, we're
change.
trending in the wrong direction. But we'll talk about it more Thursday. But I do believe that we'll bounce back. That we'll see that. Um, but yeah, so we have our last thing here. Viewers, y'all know that we love to do this. Our cover zero hot takes. Gotta get our clips somehow. Um, so what do we have on the block here for our cover zero takes?
Yeah, I think Tony Pollard will finish in the top 3 of rushing yards this year. I think he's proven that, and through our ups and downs on offense, he seems to always be consistently getting a good number in the rush game. And sounds weird, and I know football isn't fantasy, but I project CD to score a touchdown a game from week 6 on. And I know
Conveniently after San Francisco.
Yeah, you know what? I'll start at San Fran because I really don't. I'm not high on their corners. I think Christian Gonzalez is very good this upcoming week, but I also think a fire should be lit under CeeDee Lamb's ass, and I think he consistently gets a touchdown a game, maybe 2 here and there, maybe 0 after the 2, but I think he averages a touchdown a game from San Fran on.
So how many touchdowns would that be?
I don't know. San Fran's week 5.
So
They have a
Maybe
bye
5
week
and
12.
12 touchdowns.
12. That would have to be a career high for him, right? Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be the first one to do a cover zero take for this pod that is not positive.
Oh,
Mine's going to be that offenses now that we face, so our defense faces, they have figured out our game plan and what they need to do to beat us on defense, and that is run right at Micah and pass away from Micah. Arizona showed that, and now Dan Quinn needs to figure out how to adjust
so what's
to
your
that.
so what's your take?
Does Quinn
That
adjust
the
or not?
Yeah, I like that.
So
Can
you're
Quinn adjust to these offenses that are going to be showing up that go against Micah?
so your hot take is a question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So does Dan Quinn adjust?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Works.
um. Well. Um. Well, I don't really have one. Kind of thought y'all were gonna take a little longer on that. So I was kind of brainstorming here. So I guess I'm just shooting blanks from the hip blindfolded here. I'll say I'll say by the end of the season, Michael Gallup will have over 850 yards receiving.
Wow. I like it.
Like it.
That would be nice.
Yeah. And I think that pretty much about um wraps it up here unless y'all have any other nuggets that you want to get out before we sign off here.
Nope.
Okay. Well, uh this was episode 6 of the Dallas Ballers Club. We recapped the stunning loss to the Arizona Cardinals, and as always, we just wanted to say thank you all for joining us today. And we will see you guys on Thursday for our New England Patriots Week 4 preview. Don't forget to follow us on our socials: Instagram at Dallas BC Podcast, TikTok and Twitter at Dallas BC Pod. And you can email us at podcastdbc@gmail.com. Thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you guys later this week.
Boom!